So outrageous has the state of our country become that earlier this week it seemed possible an individual who chose to go and support the vile creatures fighting against our own troops in a heinous and bloody war could be allowed safe passage home. I'm talking, of course, about 19-year-old Shamima Begum, who travelled to Islamic State when she was 15 and now wants to come back to the UK. If you can't see an issue with this, you must either be delusional or have never been exposed to the horrors of IS. She's now reportedly been stripped of her British citizenship, and rightly so. I don't care how old she was when she went, how many children she has lost, or how many she is carrying. She decided to go up against everyone over 4 years ago, and now it hasn't worked out how she thought it would. She wants, before she ends up on the sticky end of the same kind of violence she was happy for others to endure, to come home. She deserves no sympathy, no money and no help. She needs to stay put and support her regime.
Phil, I imagine you and many others supported this country's efforts to deport Abu Qatada, the Jordanian al-Qaeda ambassador in this country, who then went back to Jordan and faced trial. I imagine people like you and others who have this view supported the deportation from this country of Omar Bakri Mohammed, who's currently in jail in Lebanon for terrorism offences and supporting ISIS, who was in this country known as the Tottenham Ayatollah, colloquially. He was in this country for years as the founder of Al-Muhajirun, the group that then became ISIS. And I imagine you and others who take your view supported the attempts to deport Hook Hand Abu Hamza, who was eventually extradited to the United States and is currently in a supermax. For a long time, what has led a lot of the Brexit debate even has been this country's failure to deport foreign terrorists who came to this country back to their countries of origin. In those 3 cases and others, we succeeded in doing so, and rightly so, because they were immigrants to this country who abused the hospitality that this country provided them. So likewise, I find it quite hypocritical if we take that policy, not to adopt a similar policy and reciprocate when our terrorists, born and raised in this country with only one passport, British, go to foreign countries and export extremism from here to those foreign countries. They went to Syria from here, and just as we expect other countries to take foreign terrorists that have come here back, we should take our terrorists back from them when they try and deport them here too. She's not under Syrian jurisdiction because those areas that have been liberated from ISIS, currently the Syrian regime has no control over them. She's in Kurdish and Free Syrian Army territory, and they don't have a government to put her on trial. And so I think for that reason, number one, we have to take her back because we've done the same to others.
Nothing you will say.
Reason number two, yeah, I know. I understand you're angry, but reason number two, it's not about her and how we feel about her. It's nothing to do with her. She's a tone-deaf, ungrateful, extremist jihadi bride. The problem I have with this is the legal precedent it sets. If we can allow this government to strip people of their citizenships who are born and raised here using national security as a pretext, we end up in George Orwell 1984 territory. It's already being used, deportations, for criminal charges, not only terrorism, and that's the slippery slope. It ends up being the case that someone like me, born and raised here, knows no other country apart from Britain.
Or me.
Or June, for some future arbitrary crime yet to be defined, the government now has the power to strip me of my citizenship for a crime that you could also commit. I get punished twice and you get punished once. And I'm asking you a question. Why is it fair to punish me twice for the same crime that you may commit?
You're not being punished. And my other point to come back on that is she chose to go over there. She did not want to be British anymore.
I'm saying it's not about her.
She chose to go over there.
I'm saying it's not about her. It's about the legal precedent.
So her allegiance is totally to Islamic State, who have claimed they are a state, OK? All right? Whether they've been accepted by the rest of the world as being a state or not, that's where she chose to be, and that's where she should stay until they're either completely eliminated or there's nothing left to
Let's hear from Shamima before we go to June. Shamima herself, as I said, it's not about her. She's an ungrateful jihadi bride, and you can watch this for yourselves as to how she speaks about it.
I think a lot of people should have, like, sympathy towards me for everything I've been through, you know, when I didn't know what I was getting into when I left, and I just was hoping that maybe for the sake of me and my child, they let me come back.
Did you know what Islamic State were doing when you left for Syria? Because they had beheaded people, there were executions.
Yeah, I knew about those things, and I was okay with it. After my son died, I realized I had to get out for the sake of my children, the sake of my daughter and my baby. So, yeah.
was only at the end. It was only at the end. But you didn't have any regrets up until that point.
I mean, someone should be telling her to stop speaking, but I'm going to hand over to you, June, but I just want to say one last thing, right? If the Anders Breivik equivalent of that massacre that happened in Norway that we all remember, horrific massacre by a far-right terrorist, if the Anders Breivik equivalent did the same in Britain, he wouldn't get deported because he'd only have one heritage, whereas if somebody with dual heritage did it, they'd get imprisoned and then deported. That's double jeopardy, and it's not fair.
And I just want to say everything that Majid has just said, and then the other piece I would add is actually I think the safest thing that we could do for this country is to bring her back and make sure that she stands trial. If we leave her out there, the amount of notoriety and fame she now has, she has the opportunity to become the next Samantha Laithwaite, where she would actually be capable, the White Widow, capable of actually radicalising other brides, other young girls, and become an icon for IS. There's no way. We need to bring her here. If she has committed any atrocities that we can prove, make sure she stands trial, put her through a de-radicalisation programme, and also take control of that child. Who knows who this baby's going to be if we allow that, we leave her there for ISIS to then make her some sort of icon for the community? No way.
Isn't the danger? I mean,
and this happened on our watch.
I was surprised.
We're to blame for this. We allowed this to happen in this country.
I'm not to blame for this. You're not to blame for this. She is
we
to blame
are,
for this.
because this happened here.
She picked up stuff online.
This
She decided she was going to go. You know, she decided that she would go and look after a man who was over there carrying out.
Nothing to do with Bangladesh, though.
Trust me, I've been over to Syria, right? I've been within 10 yards of ISIS, right? And I've seen the devastation and the hideousness they've got. I've seen a woman who was shot twice in the head, all right, while she was repeatedly raped in front of her family, okay? And she sat there and made tea for a man who was doing stuff like that. No, you stay there, love. I'm sorry.
We agree.
I can't find any reason to bring her back. And if she wants to come back, the only thing I could do with her is lock her up for an extremely long time, whether she's found guilty or not. Okay, whether she's found guilty or not, for the very fact that she went over there as a treason. That's just treason.
But Phil, when IS are completely beaten, you said, and there's no state, as you call it, where does she go?
Where does she go? She'll be swept up and interned with the rest of them over there.
Where?
No, where?
Or there'll be enough ordnance to get rid of them completely.
Trump has said he'll release them if we don't take them back.
Yes,
that's what Trump has said.
Yes. I mean,
she's lost her rights to be over here. She has no claim to come back over here whatsoever.
But she should face justice over
Why are we trying to palm her off to the Bangladeshis?
Well, they're not having it anyway.
It's got nothing to do with them.
The flaw in the plan, and emotionally I'm with you, by the way. I am with you in that I don't want to hear...
Emotionally I'm with you,
Yeah.
but in terms of what makes sense,
But the flaw in the plan is I don't believe our laws are robust enough to actually deal with her properly if and when she comes back.
And I would take from you, Michelle, I'll take that.
But
that if our rules were robust enough to put her behind bars, lock her away, and have nobody hear from her ever again, then that's fine.
Just on the law, we've got inviting or expressing support for a prescribed organisation gives you 10 years in jail. I'm sure we can do well.
Well, can I ask? Let me just say, we asked the Home Office for a statement, so therefore the Home Secretary has clearly stated that his priority is the safety and security of Britain and the people who live here. In order to protect this country, he has the power to deprive someone of their British citizenship where it would not render them stateless. We do not comment on individual cases, but any decisions to deprive individuals of their citizenship are based on all available evidence and not taken lightly. Now, what I don't understand is what legal advice has been taken here, because...
He knew.
Well, the Home Secretary. Well, you know, when you're the Home Secretary, or you run a big, or you run a big organisation or something like that, you can take two sorts of legal advice.
You know what he wants?
There's the first lot of legal advice is you say, I want someone who supports what I'm going to do, and the second bit is to say, come on, please tell me what the what the law actually says.
He knew he had no legal standing. It was to send a message to anyone else thinking about going off to Syria, and also to pander to the right.
So I want to make 2 points. First of all, we have returning jihadis roaming around our streets, and we shouldn't have. It's just beyond comprehension. Those people should not be allowed. So that's why I worry. It's all well and good going, oh yeah, bring her back and let's face the face of the law here. This is not going to happen. I don't believe that if she came back, she'd be locked up for the rest of her life.
I think she would. I think her
two,
case is different. The high-profile nature of her case means that they would have to find a way to make the law
Well,
make sure
I
that
don't think
she
she should be
faces
able to keep
justice.
her child. I
Yeah.
think if you are,
Fair
you know, declaring yourself as a terrorist, basically, you shouldn't be able to keep your child.
Fair
And then
enough.
the final point I want to make, what I've found interesting over these last few days is how many people are sitting there saying, oh, she was a child, she was a child, she was a child, while simultaneously saying these people of the similar age are adult enough to be able to vote in completely different circumstances. So I found it so contradictory.
Which is it? Okay.
Yeah, so either
I
you're a
think
kid, you don't know your
It
mind.
helps not to make it
or-
about her and look at the legal precedent instead.